On this episode of ResiWeek, Trident IoT launches, Destination Outdoors returns to CEDIA Expo 2023, and running your business like a restaurant. All that and more next on ResiWeek.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
We can't say the future without AI. I mean, there's no way around it. 50% of workers now believe AI is going to improve their experience. When I come into the meeting room, I need a way to incorporate my AI with what's going on in the meeting. It's almost a bring your own AI type of a concept. Most of what we do in our day-to-day is going to change significantly.
Hear the latest AV trends and predictions in this episode of Crestron's Smarter Spaces podcast on your preferred podcast platform.
This is ResiWeek, episode 394, Montage Moment. Welcome to ResiWeek, your weekly wrap-up of all the latest stories and news for the residential side of the AV industry. I don't know where Matt is. I've given up. I am your host, Mitchell Tulin, here again. And I think it's the monkey's paw curling its finger. Somebody told me that I did a good job, and so fate has aligned it. But thankfully, I have a host of people who are a lot smarter than me, actually experts in the AV industry, starting with founder of Control Concepts and host of our very own State of Control, a much better show, Steve Greenblatt. Welcome.
Thanks for having me. Thanks. I'm glad to be here. And I am one of those people that's your fan as a host. So I know it's going to be a great show, and I'm glad to be part of it.
Oh boy, we're in for it. Also with us is Mitchell Klein, Executive Director for the Z-Wave Alliance. Thank you for being here.
Hey, Mitchell, it's great to be here with the other Mitchell. Of course, you're the better hair, Mitchell, but that's okay. We'll deal with that.
It's about all I got going for me. And last but not least, Mariusz Malkowski, CTO and founder of Trident IoT, newly minted. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. Speaking of, this comes from Residential Systems, Trident IoT launches to offer silicon, product engineering, and certification for connected devices. They're focused on decreasing time to market for these connected device manufacturers, and they're a direct supplier of Z-Wave technology. Post-process Mitch coming in. I forgot to invoke the Bradford rule of explaining any acronym that we use. IoT is short for Internet of Things. You're welcome, Bradford. And since we have one of the founders on the show, I think I'd start with them. So, Mariusz, what brought about this? I know that before we had you on when we were talking about Matter, another IoT thing. So what are you looking to achieve with Trident IoT for the smart home space?
Yeah, thanks for having me again. You actually stole two of my very important points, right? But I'll forgive you. No worries. I can take it. So we are a technology and engineering company focused on delivering IoT solutions. So if you look at the IoT in whole, it's very fragmented, very complicated. Customers very often would come to me and ask, which ecosystem should I play with? Which technology should I use? So we're the technology company that will help you navigate through all that, supply silicon, supply software, firmware, engineering services, as well as what makes us very unique. We'll also be a certification house for some of the most known protocols. We already certify Z-Wave devices. We're in process of certifying or becoming a certification accredited lab for Zigbee and Matter. And there is probably more that will come down the line.
Very good. So Mitch, as a part of Z-Wave, and we said they're a direct provider. Trident IoT is a direct provider for Z-Wave chips and modules. So what does this partnership kind of mean for your side?
You know, there's actually a long history behind this. And, you know, if I go back to 2015, when I first came on board with the Z-Wave Alliance, I was like drinking from a fire hose for 2 weeks and sent to a trade show. And I had numerous interviews with various press and analysts, and I was attacked pretty much the entire time. What makes me think Z-Wave is going to survive, and all kinds of things that have been proven wrong over the years. And I think this is the last piece of the puzzle that it gets put together that puts an end to the argument that Z-Wave is a proprietary technology owned by one company, which previously was Silicon Labs, and before that was Sigma Designs. And now with Mariusz and his team, which we're thrilled to have back, it's like putting the team back together again. We're so thrilled to have this because now the last obstacle, at least the perception of the last obstacle, is gone. We now have multiple silicon providers. We have multiple support opportunities. And by the way, Z-Wave is thriving and the technology is progressing. So anyway, all you naysayers, pay attention.
That's awesome. Steve, you're from the programming side. So these kind of systems, like he said, it's nice when it works together, but when it's proprietary, how do I say this? There's a lot of standards. The nice thing about standards, there's so many of them. So would something like this help a programmer? How does that function with them?
There's a lot these days. Right now, everybody's looking for interoperability. So something like this is just really critical. Clients and I come a lot from the commercial side, and the residential side is a smaller portion of my knowledge and my experience. But from the commercial side, it's still critical that products can work together and be easily swapped out, and that when you are working and designing a system, you don't have to start over when something has to be replaced. So be able to have some type of standardization and have a confidence in knowing that products are going to work well together is just critical. So, tying them to a consistent protocol, whether it's Matter or whether and Z-Wave is similar, where that these products are meant to work together because they're all subscribing to the same way of communicating.
All right, that sounds awesome, and I hope that I'm looking forward to what's coming. So we're now going from the indoors to the outdoors. It's terrible. CEDIA Expo 2023. It's coming back to Denver September 7th through the 9th alongside the newly minted Commercial Integrator Expo, but we're focused on the CI channel here, not the CIX. Confusing. CE Pro is also returning CE Pro is reporting that they're returning the Destination Outdoors, a 24,000 square foot arena, providing attendees a firsthand look at the outdoor space and solutions. The article mentions drapers, custom shades, projection screens, just video walls, having micro LED displays. Coastal Source has some outdoor audio solutions. Steve, this is an interesting return to the show floor. It's usually it's stuck inside a big building where only the AV people are going to see it. Now it's outdoors. What does that mean for this kind of showcase to return?
There's a couple of, I think, interesting parts of it. From the business side, obviously it gives manufacturers that specialize in this area a chance to really strut their stuff. You can't show outdoor products as easily indoors because you're going to lose where they shine and what they're intended to be used for and what their specialty is. But the other side of it is it gives the show floor a chance to expand a bit. It gives it creates some visibility outside. People that are passing by can see the technology. It provides a lot more visibility, I think, and intrigue to what we're doing as an industry. So, and plus also you get a little bit of fresh air. So I think that there's a lot of upside for this, the business side as well as for the attendees. It gives you a little bit of a unique trade show experience.
Yeah, exactly. Mariusz, same kind of question. You're in the IT space. I don't want to pigeonhole you too much, but the outdoor world is a little different than your usual smart home stuff. How much does that change when you're kind of designing that space?
Yes, it's different, but also it's a little bit of the same, right? But one thing I want to point is the latest advancement in Z-Wave long range, which makes those outdoor installations much easier to do. They will be more robust. The Z-Wave long range employs a range of 1.5 miles, so you can easily go outside of the home. You can easily connect sensor devices or actuators where Wi-Fi normally would not reach, right? So I would say maybe not this CDIA, but the following CDIA, I would expect more and more Z-Wave devices being shown there on the sensor side, on the actuator side, on lighting side as well. So I'm super excited for the outdoors, and that's where the Z-Wave long range will
Hey,
shine.
Mariusz, brilliant tie-in. And actually think about this. Like if you're an exhibitor and you've got Z-Wave long range, you don't actually have to be across the street, right? You can get a much cheaper
Correct.
suite at one of the hotels down the road or something like that, right? I mean, kind of cool there too, right?
And we can still control Z-Wave devices. Absolutely. Yeah.
You're going to be outside, and given what's been going on these days with climate, I think bring your waders with you. Flash floods wouldn't be a wild surprise. We'll really get to see how well these outdoor products work in the real world. That's just my guess.
Yeah, so that was actually kind of going to be my question to you, Mitch, is that what is the expansion for that outdoor market? I mean, we're usually focused on smart home, but it's clearly expanding to a different area.
Water sensors,
Absolutely,
water leak detectors.
Yeah, rain sensors. Well, first of all, outdoors is definitely a room in the home these days. I mean, that's nothing new. We've known this, right, for a long time, but now we actually have products built specifically for it to enable these outdoors to be the additional home. We've had lanais in Florida and other things like that, but now you actually have people putting a lot of effort into, even up in the Northeast, to creating an outdoor space. And so this is awesome. I love the idea of actually seeing the products in the real world applications. And again, I'm not expecting perfect weather. So, bring your umbrella and your waders.
It is, Denver in September. I would normally say that's chilly, but right now anything could happen.
It's dry. It should be, but we'll see.
And finally, our last story comes from Residential Systems. Shining Those Forks. Anthony Savona writes about the latest season of a show called The Bear. I'm going to admit up front that I didn't do my homework here. I have not seen the show. I don't watch things on time. I haven't seen Ted Lasso. I keep getting reprimanded for things like that. Like,
we got to talk, Mitchell. I mean, geez.
But more importantly, I know most of the tropes and tools, about any plot where you're running a restaurant or you're doing a business, you're trying to save the orphanage / community center type thing. There are parallels to be drawn from one industry to the other. I'll start with you, Mariusz. Running an AV business doesn't have the same overlap as a restaurant. I assume there's a lot less health inspectors, but where did those lines sync up in a way that an integrator should be taking notes?
I think streamlining processes, right? And the well-run restaurant, it's usually well-run, right? It has a little bit to do with obviously great food, but more so with processes and streamline and efficiencies, right? That's where really you're going to see a difference between a good restaurant and not so good restaurant. We can have the greatest food, but if you wait 45 minutes for it, so you're not going to like it, right? So I think the parallel applies to, other businesses as well, where, the same principles are super important, right? So efficiency, looking back and, adjusting as you go, I think it's super important.
Steve, one of the things that Anthony talks about in the article, it's one scene where this guy is waking up at 5:30 in the morning to clean forks. And without the context, it sounds like a neat attention to detail. Someone is so focused in that. But I feel like sometimes, especially maybe as a producer, if you get too nitty gritty with everything you do, you start losing any time. It spirals out of control. So how granular do you really need to be when you're running a business?
Depends on who you're trying to serve and the type of client that you have. And a lot of that requires probably adjustment. So, and it also depends on who you are, right? As an owner, if you are somebody who has a lot of attention to detail, you're going to respect that and appreciate that and probably focus on that more versus somebody that doesn't. In the end, similar to a restaurant, we're trying to deliver an experience. I think that's a big buzzword right now, and I'm sure that works in all the different markets and a lot of what service providers do. So, whereas you can have perfect wiring and you can have everything really meet all the details if you don't get that last 5%, and you can't make it easy and you can't cater to the client's needs, and you don't show that you're listening to what the intent of the system is and what their goals are, all of the other things don't really matter. So it really is critical that you understand your client, you understand what they're asking for, what it is that you're intending to do, and you deliver it. And also you know what's important to the client. So if being on time and being tidy and being very very organized is something that they're going to appreciate, then you focus on that. If they're going to appreciate a big whiz bang experience, then that's the other side of it. And there's always a meeting ground, of course.
Yeah. Although I feel like restaurants, they like their lights to be really dim and moody and stuff. And integrators are probably looking at the lights and going, we could just put like 14 more up there. And actually you can see what you're eating, not just... Mitch, to me, the big trope in these kinds of things is the montage. You see it in everything. You bring in your music, you go from a novice to expert in a nice little package time frame. I mean, can you make a montage moment happen aside from playing the music? That just seems like it'd be sometimes torture for your employees. But how do you measure progress in a way that growth can be measurably noticed?
Measuring growth. Okay. Well, let's look at this from the retail side. Retail is detail, as you've heard, and the actual installation, the detail on that is things like wearing the booties on your way into the home on the construction, cleaning up after you strip a wire, which again, I remember not seeing that happen as often as I would like. Bringing in the little hand vacs to make sure that when you're done with whatever work you're doing, you're cleaning up and the place looks better than when you got there. So there's that part, really. It's that level of detail that people have an eye on in their homes. And I think that sometimes that gets missed. So we can look at how well the truck is organized. We can look at how neat the wiring is, but the things that the consumer is going to see in their home, so those are the details you got to pay real close attention to. That's the cleaning the fork, by the way. And now I forgot your question.
It's just how do you measure it?
Client satisfaction, that's what it's all about. I mean, look, I've been in this business a long time. Steve, you know, just as well. Bottom line is you get your business from other customers, and, you know, it's got to be that experience. We don't have TripAdvisor or any of these other social sites that are doing ratings on installers, at least not yet. Like they do with restaurants. So how are you going to get your next business? It's going to be word of mouth. It's going to be creating your own social networks that way.
And most people work on repeat business. So, you know, you one trip up, you spend all your career trying to earn that client's respect, and one trip up can mess that up. So it is critical.
That's true, Steve. Most of the upper clients have multiple homes, right? So it's kind of like a never-ending project. We just did this one, now got one going on in Palm Beach. And by the way, we just bought a condo in Las Vegas, and we got a brownstone in New York. So you know this, Steve, too. It's like, you're right, customer for life.
All right. I think that's going to do it for us. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Speaking sort of montages, Mitch, will the CE Pro All-Stars Band be making their return to Cedia?
Nice tie-in. Yeah. You know what? My happy place is definitely on stage playing with my friends and playing instruments with them, playing songs. And actually, this year is going to be the first time I'm singing one myself.
Ooh.
So you're going to have to come and check it out, right? So yeah, we'll be back. I think it's Thursday night.
Awesome. How can we find you or Z-Wave Alliance?
Mitch at zwavealliance.org. We don't have a booth this year because our members have taken out their own booths, but I got 2 sessions. You can look that up on the CDO website. And also I will be wandering around. So grab me. I'd love to catch up with you.
All right. Thank you so much. Mariusz, thank you for joining us. How can we find you or Trident IoT?
I mean, immediately at Cydia, I'll be walking the same floors as Mitch. I'm actually doing a session on hospitality and Z-Wave and efficiency. Super cool one. I recommend to attend, and you can find me on LinkedIn or at Trident at tridentiot.com.
All right. Thank you so much. And Steve, thank you for joining us. How can we find you either on a show floor or, I don't know, on some sort of talky thing?
I like to be in several places, so I'll give you the rundown. For me personally, you could find me at Steve Greenblatt on social media. My company Control Concepts at controlconcepts.net. You can find me here at AVNation on A State of Control, as we talked about, which is the programming, control, and automation show with my partner Rich Fregosa, who's a regular guest here on the show. And I will also be attending CD Expo and teaching for the first time this year with my team member, Brittany DeCessory. We're going to be doing a professional development session on understanding personality types. And we have a lot of fun with that. It's a great way to learn how to work with other people. That's going to be on Friday at 11 a.m. So please join us. It's very interactive, a lot of fun, and you're definitely going to learn something from it. And we'll also be walking the show floor and meeting people and networking and getting to talk about API integration. So please stop and say hi. We'd love to talk to you.
All right, that's great. And also don't forget that Ask the Programmer alongside James King, another one to show you guys do. You guys just nerding out about all kinds of programming related topics.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yes, that is true.
Yep. And if our editor's doing their job correctly, all those links will be on the page. So go check out wherever you guys are at during CDIA Expo. For me, I will not be at CDIA Expo, but I do know that Tim Albright of AVNation is going to be running around as an influencer, air quotes. So make sure that you make fun of him for that title and then stop by and say hi if you see him. For me, don't follow me on Twitter or anything. I write about things that aren't the AV industry that you're probably not interested in. But instead, go to our site, avnation.tv, where we have a lot of shows like this one, like AVWeek, A State of Control with Steve Greenblatt, the Women in AV podcast, and the new Architect with Brian Heideggerken. All fantastic stuff. When you're there, check out our underwriters. They're the people that get us money and get me paid. So I appreciate that. You know, Rich Fregosa's brother got to eat kind of situation there. So yes, check us out at avnation.tv. Thank you so much for watching. That is all the time we have for ResiWeek.